Welcome to the Flynn Effect podcast, where we dive deep into all things culture, industry news, and history, all with the goal of helping our clients to perform better. All right. Well, we have a very special guest on the podcast today, a man I have known literally my entire life. And I guess I'm gonna call you Chris during this.
That's fine.
I usually call him Dad, but we've got Chris Flynn. Welcome to the Flynn Effect.
Yeah, it's great to be here finally.
Yeah, and you are right now, presently, the longest tenured person here because
this is true.
Kevin has sort of stepped back a hair. But I thought that would be a really interesting place to start is, Kevin came and told his story and how he joined the family business. But I think it would be really interesting to hear how you got your start and what that was like for you.
Well, it all started in a 50,000 watt station. No. I really was kind of born into it as far as the Flynn history goes.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, old Jer there, we brought stuff home. It was always like, hey, what do you think of this? How about this? Do you like this? And play things. And we'd always kind of look at it and do it. So
Yeah.
I knew really from an extremely young age, that's what I want to do. It's interesting. I get to learn a lot about all kinds of different businesses and it keeps it interesting. Right.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think I was 8 or 9 years old when I did my first voiceover for a radio commercial for Ralph Pontiac Honda.
Wow.
So I started off very early doing that. And then even in high school in DECA, doing radio spots for that as far as marketing goes.
Yeah.
And then continued on with it in college and working at the radio station there at college and learning it. And I went to school for broadcast communications.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that's what I was going to do. I'm one of the rare people that actually am doing what I studied to do.
I went to school for anthropology. It really applies.
But you have an English minor, which makes it good communication, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But so I did do that. And honestly, I was working at the agency the last 2 years of college because we all had the opportunity to work in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, here's $25 a week for gas.
Yeah.
Go out and sell. So I would go to school back then in a suit and tie, believe it or not, in the morning. And then I was able to work my schedule. So I could work at the agency in the afternoon. And I got a couple of accounts. So I was able to start eating.
Nice.
So that's what it is. I've really always been in this industry.
Yeah.
Apart from my bartending and jobs of that nature earlier on in my life.
And that was late 80s?
That was late 80s. I graduated. So it would have been 86 to 88 that I was doing both school and working at the agency. Wow. And then, bartending at night to until I was able to sell enough to get enough counts to be able to have an income and do it.
That's awesome. And then you and Kevin started the buyout from Jer in the 90s?
No, that buyout actually happened in the early 80s.
Oh.
Early 80s. That was part of it. It was a long-term kind of buyout, so I did have some responsibility for that.
Sure.
During when I did finally come on. But yeah, so, it was tough and things changed.
Different business back then.
Very different, if we talk about the evolution and the innovations that have happened through advertising, both in the advertising agency industry, but marketing as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
If you really, you go back to, I'm going to go back to 1950 because in 1950, Jerry was the host of the first local television show here in Rochester, New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was my dad, the game show host, right? But it was there. It was all live television and it was once a week and sponsored by, Bluebell ice cream dairy.
Oh my gosh, I love
and it was all the big lights, and he told the story of that. Went to commercial break, and they had to do it so quickly because the lights were so huge, and the ice cream would just be melting. So, it grew up there. And that time, it was really print, radio, television was really coming in on the 50s. But then you get into the whole Mad Men era of like a lot of bang, pow, boom pow Madison
I've
Avenue.
actually never seen it, but like I know the vibe you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it was very much, entertainment. It's, 2 martini lunches and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it also was an era that, now we are tracked, like results based. Everything needs to be results based, and it's got to be based on data.
Yeah.
So back then, there was a lot of what I would like to say of creativity from a standpoint of doing something very beautiful and memorable, but we would present and we would kind of go, huh? What do you think? And that was really what it was. And the feedback would come from what they liked and then what they would hear out in the community. But,
Right.
As that changed, but 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s television production became, it really accelerated, and it also, the quality, the production value really went through the roof.
Yeah. Well, and
of starting to do it, even on a local basis,
right,
where it's like, okay, we're gonna really invest in the brand and really tell our story.
And I feel like that's a good place to start too. So you're our CEO, and you've long, been sort of a visionary as it relates to stepping into the next phase or iteration of the agency. And so one of the places I want to talk about was actually video and editing in-house, because that wasn't something that people always had. And what did that look like for you? I know you were at the helm there.
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit to understand that, everything used to be shot on film, and everything that was edited was, I mean, I can go back to 2-inch tape that was this big on enormous machines. And, the room was $1 million at least, to get the television production done. But as time progressed and the innovation in the digital is really what switched over video. Being able to digitize it and to be able to work with that really changed it. You didn't need, we were working, with good friends of ours in very large, expensive rooms. But we got to the point where it was like, okay, we can digitize this and create an EDL and edit decision list offline. Doesn't mean it's broadcast quality at the time, but we could take that and we could take our EDL to the big room. So all of our decisions were made. So we went from what needed to be 5 hours to, okay, let's go, let's compile this, and it's an hour. So our cost structure came down, and that became like, okay, now we have the time to play. How do we make this better? And that's really kind of where it's shifted. I mean, I truly do believe we're one of the first agencies in the country to actually buy an Avid and have a system in-house to do editing like that. And then as technology progressed, and we always refer to Moore's Law, which is like, it's just going to get faster, cheaper. And that happened. And then we were online and being able to do everything in-house.
Right.
And provided all the broadcast specs to the stations and do that. And that was great, and still is great. We still have our editing suites, and we still have a studio, and we utilize it as much as we can, and clients enjoy it.
It's what some of our clients know us for too, right? We have a couple of relationships that are very production focused. But I think it's a really good point, right? You were kind of on the cutting edge there in terms of making that jump over. And I know that that's also happened a few other times here from a web perspective, from an analytics perspective. I guess as an owner, entrepreneur, like how do you make those decisions? Like, are you just keeping track of where things are going? Is it a little bit gut feel?
A lot of for me has been gut, but it really is trying to look around corners. Where is it going to be in 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah.
And when stuff comes out, it's like when we talked about digital, I mean, which seems like an outdated term, but digital, as far as when that started happening, and then when we got into, we had the video capability, I kind of saw like, okay, there's going to be a lot of video on the web. Streaming didn't exist at the time. But in 96 or 97, we made a full, okay, we're diving into working with digital assets and building web and building applications. Back then there used to be a thing called a CD-ROM, which we would do interactive programs
Yeah.
for clients that they could send to their customers, and provide that with both with video and with, an interactive portion of it. But that really changed it. And the acceleration continued to change. We just knew that digital was going to be taking
Huge.
over. And it wasn't, none of this is ever a change happens,
Right.
It's like recently I was talking about as innovations happen, for anybody who might be listening, realize that years ago when, desktop publishing it was called, but the Adobe suite came out and it was like, oh, every art director is going to be obsolete. No one's going to need it. Well, I can give you a grand piano. If you don't know how to play it, it's going to sound pretty bad.
Yeah, fair
so
point.
The same is true for marketing. If you don't know what you need to accomplish and the sensibility for art direction, it's not going to come off polished, and it's not going to get your end result. Now it may change the process, and it may change the pricing structure for our clients, that we may be able to do more and sometimes do more for the same amount, or we might be able to provide the same thing with more efficiencies for less.
Right.
So it's ever changing.
Oh yeah.
And we're entering a,
I was going to say, especially
not
now.
entering, we've entered a whole new world.
Well, I think to your point too, it doesn't happen overnight, right?
No.
So like the big generative AI came onto the scene in the last, whatever it is, a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And there was some trepidation at first, but we all played around with things and whatever. And now we have it a lot more integrated into our daily systems. And there are a lot of different types of tools you can use. There's also 8,000 different offerings available out there. So it's becoming sort of crowded to the point where it's difficult to even know where to begin. But I think we're in another time where it's like that reinvention or the, adoption of those types of tools, to your point, like Adobe back in the day, is going to be really important. And I think agencies are going to be that much more important on the beginning portion of a project, right? That upfront strategy, the concept, the big idea sort of stuff. And that maybe some of the more, like slicing and dicing into different assets and stuff will become a little bit easier,
Machine
which
learning,
honestly,
it
wouldn't be the worst thing in the world anyways, because it's tedious. So,
I mean, and we forgot, I mean, as far as evolution goes, you also have the data analytics. And, now prove it to me.
Right.
How is this working? Prove it to me. A/B testing, always constantly trying to improve. And that's where I think it's going to be helpful. There's still going to be a lot of work.
Right.
But, okay, this didn't do it. How do we tweak it? How do we tweak it? How do we tweak it? How do we get, okay, this is it. This is the gold standard. Every test that we do is against that. And we keep moving forward. And the thing that I would say, we've been blessed. I mean, we have been very fortunate. 1967 was the first year the shingle went up for Flynn. And part of it was looking at innovation. Where is it going?
Right.
What's changing? If you're not innovating, you're going to be off the list. People aren't going to call you, and they're going to look other places. So
you'll become irrelevant.
Yeah, very quickly. But, AI, I think if I could give any advice to anybody who's kind of listening.
That was going to be my last question.
My advice would be play, play, play. You're going to look at something and you're going to go, wow, this is digitized. That image is wrong.
Yeah.
If you think like an old dog who can't adjust, you're going to be left behind. Because what today, when you look at it and you go, well, that's not quite good enough. That's not that. 6 months? Oh, it's good enough.
Yeah, right.
Because
probably
it's going to get better and better and better. And the speed of change is no longer 18 months. It is every day.
Yeah.
So
18 minutes.
Yeah. You really have to just play with it. Because once
open.
It is ready, you will then have the skills to utilize it and to implement it.
Yeah.
And to make it successful for your clients. And really, as long as we can innovate and make it successful for our clients, then we're doing our job and we'll be successful and they're happy.
Yeah.
And the best thing is happy clients.
Yeah. And it's more fun too. You know, it's not fun to do the same thing every single day.
No.
We're fortunate enough to get to do different stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned at the beginning of this, the sort of stuff that, was brought home when you were a kid. I thought it would be, kind of fun to end on. One of my favorite memories that I have, obviously, like, we would come to the office, and we've been in this building for 25 years?
Yeah.
So, like, I remember this building primarily, many iterations of it. However, my favorite, like, take home work thing was, and will always be, casting videos.
Casting videos. Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I know. Yeah. Well, with Dick's Sporting Goods, we did do a lot of casting. We were shooting a lot out in LA and in New York, and we would have to cast. And I will say sometimes agents and agencies, talent agencies, do such a disservice to people by sending them to things that they're just not appropriate for. And those are usually the ones that are like, what is going on? But some of them are pretty humorous.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
There's some overacting.
There's a lid for every pot, but
there's
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Anywho, any last words? Any final advice?
Yeah, I think the best that I could give to anybody in the industry would be always be learning, always be inquisitive, and always ask what if. What if we tried this? Would it be great? You're not going to hit everything.
Right.
But every once in a while, you're going to go, wow, look at that. And that's what makes this great.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks
Katie.
for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome.